Living from the Mountaintop. Be the mystic you were born to be. This book is by Christian Sorensen, and it's the book. We'll stop in a second if this doesn't sound like it's going to work. Sorry, I left some of you in a place where you've got tears in your eyes and we've got feedback problems. Should I just forget it, Steve? Okay. Give me a second. So breathing into this space, you can probably feel that we're about to start a spiritual journey. If you're new here, hold on. All Sundays aren't this intense, though we generally do have tissues around, and you can raise your hand for the ushers to bring you one if you need them. Because we feel like tears are like the life of God expressing. Tears are a beautiful emotional release. Tears are healing, and they're an aspect of the beauty of our wholeness. So we are about to start an adventure, and it's an adventure in spirituality. We do this every fall, and it's 6 weeks of sacred study. So we have Sunday talks based on a book, and some people love the book and some people hate the book every year, and it's fantastic. Because that's part of the spiritual practice too, is everything that comes up and going, why did we pick this book this year? Are you kidding me that one? Or, oh, I love that book. That was the best book. And letting there be room for all of it. But we do 6 weeks where we talk and discuss the chapters, and our live stream community joins us. There's an online group. They join us as well. You can download the study guide if you're not in a group. And then some people choose to take it deeper and find the supportive community and open up to a new possibility that there is an expansion in consciousness they can be supported by when they enter a spirit group, which is a small group of about 12 or less people. And we meet in homes throughout this area in Kansas City or here at Unity Village. And you explore with this group. You break bread together, and you talk about the things that are challenging you. You talk about the reading. You talk about the things that excite you, and you develop friendships and develop connections in a sacred environment. So for 6 weeks, there's an adventure. You don't have to be here for all of them, but if you choose to be and you choose to make a commitment for the next 6 weeks, you will come out different than you started. Even just the introduction to this book was something that it was like, oh, could I just sit here this Sunday and just read? Would that be, could we have adult story time? Because the words are beautiful. That song, Travel On, came from the idea behind James Dillett Freeman's poem, The Traveler. That we are travelers on this journey of life, that we existed before birth and we go on past death, that in fact life itself has no opposite. Christian Sorensen says, the frame between your birthday and your departure date is merely one stopping point in the continuity of your soul's journey. You are a current of the awareness moving in continuity from each moment to the next. Your journey through this dimension isn't about length, it's about width. Your journey through this dimension isn't about length, it's about width. Would you be open to the possibility that within the next 6 weeks, that concept could become more than words to you, but they could become truth? Such beautiful truth that it would dissolve any judgment that we might have in this human condition about the length of life and valuing life by its length, and instead we would value life by its width and its depth. Can you feel that? Can you feel what it would be like to be on this planet as light bringers, as agents of transformation, teaching these possibilities to our world and letting go of our inherited ideas that no longer serve, that tell us a life is this many years long, and if it doesn't go this way or that way in perfect health and wholeness, with all of these mile markers happening at the right times with the right people, like, you know what I'm saying? the plans that we have for life, if we could once and for all embody the knowing that that's just a human construct. That's all it was, is an idea that humanity got from looking at life and seeing it and going, okay, well, there's what it is. And then what do we do every moment after that? We torture ourselves when it doesn't show up like that. We torture ourselves. If we didn't go to the right school at the right time, have the right bank account, get married at the right time, have a child at the right time, whatever it is, XYZ, you fill in the blanks. If there was an illness that appeared in life, if there was an early death, if there was anything that doesn't look like that grid of the human's mind and the human's idea of how life is supposed to go, we are utterly destroyed, aren't we? And that is layered on top of a very natural, beautiful, and mystical process of revealing and healing and wholeness in every experience and allowing ourselves to be present to life when it hurts. But that's different than suffering, is it not? So who has a life where for themselves and everyone in their life, it went according to that idea? Go ahead and stand up. I'll give you the mic. Just kidding. Are we ready to outgrow that story or recognize we have outgrown it? Are we ready to write a new story, draft a new proposal about this thing called life? A proposal that will leave no one disappointed. A proposal that will leave everyone feeling loved, and a proposal that will include everyone. It's time. He says life is the dash between your arrival and your departure dates. Not how many days or years you spent on this planet. That's not what matters most. It's about quality, not quantity. He says, getting this, truly getting this, how would that transform how we do life? What we create and co-create, our choices around our time, our choices around our energy, our choices around our resources, where we put them and where we use them are our values. He goes on to say that death is a good educator. Amen? Death is a good educator and expander of what's most important. On their deathbed, people aren't saying, I wish I would have gathered more stuff. Right? Rather, they are wishing they would have expressed more loving caring. You didn't arrive with anything and you aren't taking anything with you. Does everyone got that memo? Everyone's got that? Imagine if you look at death in the face and it didn't matter whether you transitioned today or the next century. Really imagine that. Imagine being on this planet and in a body and each day feeling harmoniously complete in your essence and really knowing that whether you're here doing this in a body with these same people, or whether you're in another form, in another essence, expression of who and what you are, life is still living you and you are still living life, and it is what it is, and I am what I am. Imagine that being so rooted and grounded in your being. Have you ever seen a unity person? And I don't mean a newbie, I mean a seasoned unity lifer minister give a memorial. Someone that's been around for ages, some of the old timers, old schoolers, those that have in their Freedom Forum right now, actually. When they give a memorial, you're like, yeah. There's just, they have mastered this knowing, they have mastered this truth that there is just not a drop of illusion left in their presencing of the moment. And that in no way invalidates the human condition and the emotions that we feel. But there is a rock solid clarity about the beauty of this journey of life. And an absolute trust and knowing that it is glorious. And that when we are in our freedom form, there is no thing to be concerned about. He says that people often seem surprised when death comes. Yeah? Right? Unless we get a lot of warnings. And even then, it still stops the planets in motion, doesn't it? He said people often seem surprised when death comes, thinking for some reason it wouldn't have ever happened to them, or at least unless they chose it not this way or that way. You are just one breath from leaving your body behind. In Unity, we say a spiritual leader's job is to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. We are all just a breath from leaving our bodies behind. He says it's interesting how the thought of impending death has one wanting to live at the highest level. Apologies are made, forgiveness is rendered, love conveyed, and a bucket list lived out. Why are you waiting for the unpredictable but inevitable moment of death to start living? Have you thought about it, that if you were told you were making your transition in the next few months, if you were told tonight that it is tomorrow, is there anything that you would be doing that you're not doing? Is there anything that you would not be doing that you're doing? And I'm not talking fantasy fairy tale like, well, yeah, I'd quit my job and just go to Mexico and hang out. Those are surface level things. I'm talking at the depth of your being, at the core of yourself. I'm talking about your 12 powers. Charles Fillmore talked about our 12 powers. Those are our divine faculties. I'm talking about your power to activate your presence on this planet, in this world, within your community, within your family, within your life. I'm talking about the harmony that exists within you. I'm talking about that which underlies every other desire. Those things. We have some otherworldly activity going on in the sanctuary. The live streamers probably can't hear that. But can everyone else hear that? I can. If you can't, maybe I'm the one going crazy. Sig's like, you got it. Just kidding. Maybe not. What would you change? What aspect of your life would you take charge of? What would you say that is no longer worth my emotional energy, turmoil, or suffering? It is what it is, but I'm not going there anymore. I'm going to have to presence this in a different way because I'm here to be what I was called to be. And that part of me, well, I can presence it, but I'm not going to expand it. I'm not interested in wallowing with it. I'm not interested in making an agreement with it. I will just invite it in. And when it's ready to go, I will keep the door open. He's asking us to consider if we like who we are being, or if there's anything that we would rather be doing or being. So here's the deal about death as a spiritual practice. How you live your life can be one of two ways. It can either be with death as a catalyst, or with your spiritual practice as a catalyst for awakening. Because no doubt it will be one or the other. But we can, instead of having the pressures of our own impending death Be that which calls us to awakening at seemingly inconvenient times. We can have that, and we can have fear of it, because people do. Second to the fear of public speaking is the fear of death, right? We always hear that. I can tell you, neither one are going to kill you. It's true. But we can choose for our spiritual practice to be that which leads us to awakening, using our awareness and spiritual maturity to lead us to intentional living. Christian Sorensen says, we need more individuals serving as transparencies for the light and life of spirit to shine through them. We need more eyes opening to the mystical connection, the abundant universe, and the greater acceptance that we are all part of the ultimate consciousness. Then and only then will we be here and know the truth of the life force. This book is called Living from the Mountaintop. Be the mystic you were born to be. Now, I don't know that Christian intended this, but it doesn't say get to the mountaintop. It just says live from it. Live from it. Okay, to entertain the possibility that it is always accessible, that it's not something that we have to struggle to, climb to, reach to so hard, but that all of us have had moments of living from the mountaintop, and in any instant, we can be invited and invite ourselves back into that space. And he says, be the mystic you were born to be. It's not develop, it's not do something, it's not a lot of hard work. It's just be it. Be your own nature. Be what you were born to be. Now, this book is not the type of book we usually pick for a series. We tend to pick books that anyone, new or having been in unity for a long time, could just get into the flow of, just be like, okay, yeah, so these are the 5 things that I do. All right, transform. Okay, I got it. This is the practice. And we have had some incredible books. You're here by divine appointment. This book is in some ways deeper than a lot of books we've done before. And it's also bigger. There's more to read. And it's also not going to work for some people that want a formula unless they choose to let go of the idea that we're solving anything here. Unless you're willing to let go of the analytical mind, and even willing to let go of judgments around what someone else's experience is, or what's really reality, or is this really how it is, how it's described in this book? And so that's the answer, or that's the answer. Or if you want answers, I was going to say we could have lists of other centers, but I don't know that there are answers anywhere. We're not here to get answers, are we? We're here for soulful exploration. And that takes every aspect of the self and a deep awareness of the self. He says this book is not formulaic. The soulful experience, it's the soulful experience, and it will definitely, I know, challenge each of us if we're willing to be challenged in a good way. He says the world definitely does not need another religion or 7-step process to success. What it needs are people living and expressing their life connections. Living from the mountaintop will give you an opportunity to experience joy and happiness beyond words and logic. We've tried it with words and logic before, haven't we, friends? While folding beautifully into your soul's expansion, evolution, and spiritual maturation. All of your interactions in this world will come to be recognized as purely spiritual experiences. Are we ready for that? So here's the expectation and here's the journey. The mystical journey, he says, isn't about aiming for the beyond body sensations. You've heard of blissing out. You've heard of all these transcendent experiences that people have. You've heard of awakening experiences. You've heard of all of these different kinds of things. You may hear of them. You may read of them. Let go of them all. You are not anyone else but you. I am not anyone else but me. He says it's about merging with life itself. This kind of voltage in an instant can repattern and refresh you to the cellular and genetic level of your being and beyond. This book is also a little out there. It's way down in there and it's out there. Here are some things you can expect starting now. The veil through which you perceive and receive will open a little. He says this opening will begin lifting you beyond your previous boundaries of reality and perception. Does that sound like a good plan? Are you open to that? It changes the way we think and we see, and we don't get to have the same attachments or judgments, and this whole idea that we love to carry around like we know something about anything. Like somehow I can do a little mini preaching thing on whatever topic that is going on in my life, and I can say, oh, here's how it is, here's what it is, and judge. Well, that's just not going to be attractive anymore. It's just not going to be magnetic anymore. What's going to be magnetic is going to be connecting heart to heart, soul to soul, moment to moment. What's going to be magnetic is going beyond the boundaries of what you thought and saying, show me more. And it's going to look like intense compassion. It's going to look like forgiveness beyond what you thought, like for the kind of forgiveness that you even go, should I be that forgiving? Is that safe? Is that healthy? Is that okay? But it's just where I am. I just don't have a resentment. That doesn't mean that I'm not clear about my boundaries or my space or my intention. It's going to look like lifting something that you've been carrying around and seeing it in an entirely different way. He says after your mountaintop experience, you'll find yourself more at home in your body. Who could use that? Who could use that? Unity has a lot of introverts. I think because we've got a lot of thinkers, we've got a lot of researchers, explorers, we've got a lot of people who, I don't know. We just have a lot, which you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it by how people show up. And Unity ministers are known for being introverts. Some Unity ministers from the good old days could give a talk up here, and then they would literally run. They would be gone, nowhere to be seen. And if they could even teach a class, but if you tried to talk to them after, it was like, I've even been told that I'm interesting. Well, I call it interesting. That's my label for it. But I can be comfortable in this field, and I can be comfortable if we're having a deep conversation one-on-one, but you put me at a dinner party, or you put me even in the fellowship room for a little bit, and you'll see me standing by the table. I've been told that I avert my eyes. Are we going to be open to the possibility that we don't know everything we think we know about someone? That just because we see someone is comfortable in one way, that doesn't mean they are in other ways. And are we open to allowing all of that to transform so that we simply presence each moment and we have our own experiences of each moment, and all the judgment just lifts. And we're just soul to soul, heart to heart right there on arrival. Are you ready to have the ability to disengage from whatever is grabbing your attention and refocus on anything you want? Imagine, he says, if you were to focus on higher aspects of who you are rather than the one you're currently struggling with. But allowing your space and your consciousness to develop an awareness that can be present and can be grounded at the same time, human and divine. He says that we will notice ourselves making choices. And we will become consciously aware of what's prompting those choices and where they lead. That's huge. That takes space. Imagine this. If you can notice yourself making choices and you are consciously aware of what's prompting those choices and where they lead. And then he says you'll find other options, once obscured from sight, become available, though they too have been available all the time. Has anyone had that happen? We've had one consciousness of awareness, and then there's a shift and a transformation, and you have another consciousness of awareness. Who has a lot of things in their life that they could complain about? Anyone? Got a couple? Anything that isn't going well or isn't where you want it to be? And then who has things in life that they could just be drop on the floor grateful for? That they could just be singing, I am fortunate. I was doing a memorial recently, and anyway, long story short, I was paid for that memorial. And stretch to the next part of the story, I was going garage sailing with a girlfriend of mine, and someone had pulled 2 kayaks out into their yard to sell because they realized someone was having a garage sale down in the neighborhood, a whole bunch of people, so might as well just take this opportunity. They just dragged them onto the yard. Now, I have thought about getting a kayak for like 2 or 3 years. I've gone on these float trips for the last few years, and a lot of people do canoes, and I go on a kayak. And I have a lake behind my house. I've lived in the house for 6 years, and I don't go on the lake. I think someone just said, I'm so sorry. Like, who lives on a lake and doesn't go on? I love lakes. I actually go to a friend's lake to go on their lake. But I'm driving in this neighborhood, and I see the sign, and I get out and talk to the guy, and I ask him how much it is, and it's the exact amount of the check of the memorial that I just got. And I was like, oh, it's time. Now, if you know me, I overthink a lot of things. So I have looked at kayaks before. I've looked at them, I thought, well, that one's too heavy to carry. I'm not going to be able to carry it. Well, that one, I don't know if you should get that kind or that kind. Well, maybe it's not the time. Well, I should really steward my money in different ways, like here right now, and maybe, and that's how it gets to be that you have a house that has a lake behind it, and for 6 years, you're not on that lake with a kayak when you think that's a really cool idea. So anyway, long story short, I ended up just saying, thank you, beloved family and beloved soul that's in your freedom form, for this divine exchange, for supporting me in my spiritual nourishment, which for me is nature and earth and water. And I'll take that kayak home. So we picked up that kayak that's 12 feet and a little heavy for me to carry, and we shoved it in my car and brought it home. And yesterday I spent the afternoon on Lake Jacomo preparing the talk for today in a kayak. Now there's like a million little points of light where there's beauty in that story, because there's the beautiful transition in the freedom form, which then wasn't just money, it wasn't just exchange, it wasn't just anything else it could have been. It was this gift, this soulful gift. And then I had these beautiful moments with the butterflies, and I took a nap with the tree branch that was sitting in the water, and I thought about you all, and I thought about all of this. And then I thought how amazing this is, that technically this is my office right now. And technically, this is my job. And technically, that's a pretty darn great job to have. Are we willing to open up to an entirely different way of living and seeing and feeling? He says, peace feels better because it is. Surrender is more graceful than attachment, and sharing love is more magical than withholding it. From the words of Ernest Holmes, who was around at the time of the Fillmores, bringing new thought into our world and our lives. His work was the beginning of Centers for Spiritual Living, which is Unity's sister center, sister spiritual center. Ernest Holmes said, "The secret place of the Most High is at the center of our own being, where in the silence we wait on the Spirit. There is no confusion in the secret place. None can enter it for us. None can prohibit its entrance to us. The door is always open, the gate ever ajar. The secret place of the Most High is a place of light, of illumination, of poise and assurance." So what can we do? What part do we play? How can we step forward into activating the next stage of consciousness available to us? He gives this analogy of a window and light coming in a window. He says, imagine a window with light streaming in and lighting up the room. The window is not the light, but merely the vehicle with which the light travels through. If the window is dirty, the light, my paper says something differently because I was on a kayak talking it into my phone. It says on my paper, the light is scared. The light is of the sacred. I'm sure it's something like that. The light itself, it doesn't change or become weaker or stronger. Its full potential is just as available as it was from the beginning. It's just not being realized because the window is inefficient. The dullness is created through the filter of a dirty window. The light doesn't care and make a big stink insisting the window be cleaned. On the contrary, it just shows up and expresses through the available avenue. God. The observer of this interaction may see the double manifestation and decide to clean what's impeding the flow of light. And voila, things look brighter. You are the perceiver in your world, not the window. Get the glass cleaner out. Let's break on through to the other side. Namaste.